Bat Hog here, back with a brand new series. The Lockheed Electra L188. This is part one in a long series of building a model for radio control of the Lockheed Electra in Revolution livery. Yeah, why the Electra? Well, I always enjoyed flying it in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. And there was this air crash investigations program about a Revolution Airlines Electra that had a prop come off, and it actually cut through the bottom of the fuselage and trapped all the flight controls. And the brave pilots fought for control for hours. All the controls were locked. They had no throttle control. They had no elevator or aileron control. They couldn't even shut the engines down, which were going at full tilt. And they fought for hours and hours and finally managed to free up a bit of control. And eventually they turned towards Alaska and they managed to get the plane down in one piece. And in honour of that brave crew, I decided to build the Lockheed Electra. And she comes. And this is the real footage. I think he got it in on his second attempt. He actually did a go around. And they all survived. And he landed it with minimal control down the middle of the runway. Quite something. So this is the one I'm building, N1968R. It's quite a nice livery actually. So I went on the internet to see what 3 views I could find. And eventually I came up with this one, which is quite good. It's got some cross sections and details of the engine nacelles, which is what I really needed. So this is what I'm trying to do, make it large enough to get off on a grass field and small enough to fit in the car, obviously. And I'm basing it on the Avios Bushmule that's got a real nice flat bottomed wing section and with 4 engines of 4-bladed propellers instead of the 2 on the Avios. I think it should have plenty of power. So I've been dabbling with Arduino lately, and I'm going to do the gear sequencing and the navigation lights by the Arduino. And I'm going to see if I can print out all the parts on my beloved Net A8. Some of the bits I've done so far are a little bit heavy, so I might have to redesign them a bit and print them a little thinner to get the weight down. I'm also having trouble getting a good finish on PLA. It's just hours and hours of sanding to get it down to a finish that will take any kind of paint. I've tried the filler, but it seems to open the gaps between the layers more than anything. So I'll have to persevere with that and get sanding, I think. So the model is going to be 1/19 scale, wingspan of 1600 millimeters, and fuselage diameter of 190 millimeters. Just worked out that way. It was a round number. And the prop diameter, as I said, 4-bladed props, 210 millimeters. So I started with a bit of design in my favourite program at the moment, which is Blender. It's a free program, brilliant for doing 3D printable designs, and I'm getting a lot better at it these days. I'm version 2.82 now, I think is the one I'm using. And that saves a file as a .blend file, and it exports each part as an STL file. And then I use that STL file in the slicer to prepare it for 3D printing. And the slicer I use is Cura. I think I'm up to version 4.1 of that. That's the critical bit where you have to design the parts so that it can be 3D printed with little or no supports. You see in that one there, there's a few supports supporting the window frames that would otherwise be overhanging. So that saves the files of those as a .3mf file, and it exports a file for printing, which is a G-code file, and that's done on my a Net A8, which is one of the cheapest 3D printers you can buy. But I've had her for 2 years now, and I've made some enhancements and add-ons, and it's just brilliant. It's the best thing I've ever bought. I think it's just fantastic fun. If you design it right and have enough filament on your reel, then she does a really good job of printing. I use painter's tape on the aluminium heated bed, and as long as I heat the bed to 60 or 70 degrees and have a brim around the printed part, I usually don't have any problem getting it off cleanly. So that's how I do it. Then hopefully all the parts that come off the printer, I can build them together, assemble them, and go fly the thing. I'll do some support files, schedules of parts. I mean, the wing, for example, each wing, the port and starboard wing, has 25 parts, including the propellers, spinners, gear doors, covers and servo covers and things like that. So there's lots of parts in this model. Also, I'll do the electronics as well for the gear, door sequencers and the lights, and that'll be an Arduino file, a .ino. So all of these files I'll be putting on this channel, so you can download those and have a look at them yourself. And I'll also be putting the Blender file and the STLs on Thingiverse, so you can download them as well. So this is how far I've got so far. I'm really getting a lot better in Blender. It's tricky to do things to scale and to include, as you see there, the diagram of the model. So I can do all the parts to scale. As you can see on here, I've got a nice smooth finish to all the parts, but it's harder to achieve than you might think. But I'll go through that in further videos. So it's not just the design I've done, I've actually printed out quite a few of the parts. As you see, I've got all of the port wing, minus the elevator and the flaps. Oh, the flaps are going to be fun, because they extend a long way back and they tilt as they extend. So they're going to be fun to do. But now I've designed the port wing, all I've got to do is reverse it in the slicer, and then I've got all the parts for the starboard wing. Crafty, eh? You can see in the middle of the wing there, I've got a linear actuator, which I'm going to use for the flaps. So I haven't quite worked out the mechanics of that yet, but I think I can do the flaps. This bit here is a little bit on the heavy side, so I might reprint that eventually. But very pleased with the shape of the nose cone and the engine nacelles. It's taken a lot of work in Blender to get those, so I'm happy with them. And whether 3D printed propellers are going to be feasible in the final thing, I don't know. I will give them a try. So they're all the bits I've done so far. So in part 2 then, I'll be setting up Blender, how to do things that come out scale, and how to add reference photos and line everything up. So when you make an object over the photos, it comes out to the exact scale. And as you see from these two parts here, the nose cone, one is without subsurface modification. That's how I modelled it. And then you add a subsurface modifier and it smooths it off beautifully. But there's pluses and minuses to doing it that way, which I'll cover in the next video. Well, thanks for that. Hope that's piqued your interest, and hit some likes, and I'll see you in the next video.